Congress in banning Chinese state newspaper from circulating in the British Parliament. We discussed the latest move with Benedict Rogers, co-founder of Hong Kong Watch. New online safety laws in Britain are impacting free speech and even American tech businesses. The rule aims at protecting kids from harm online, but critics say the new rules reaches far further. That and more after the break. Rogers, co-founder of Hong Kong Watch, he also co-founded and serves as deputy chair of the Conservative Party Human Rights Commission in the UK. Ben, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's start with transnational repression, a term we've been hearing a lot lately. A parliamentary committee published a report on Wednesday warning that transnational repression by foreign governments have been growing unchecked in the UK. What were the key findings in this report to start off?
Well, let me first of all say this is a report that I think is much needed, long overdue, and very welcome. The key recommendations really are, first of all, that the British government needs to have an actual definition of transnational repression. That's not easy because it's quite a wide-ranging concept, but nevertheless, there is currently no official definition, and the key recommendation is that there should be one. Other recommendations are that the UK police should be much better trained and prepared and should be proactive at reaching out to communities that are affected, and that there should be much better coordination across government in terms of dealing with the perpetrators of transnational repression. So it recommends, instead of having multiple government offices dealing with this issue, which is the case at the moment, that there should be some kind of central unit that is empowered to coordinate policy across government.
So besides the report, what are some examples that you've seen of transnational repression that's actually happening in UK?
Well, the most egregious and recent example is, of course, the issuing of $1 million Hong Kong dollar bounties by the Hong Kong authorities against a number of exiled Hong Kong activists who live in the UK and some who live in the US and Australia and other parts of the world. And that has led also to the issuing of letters against a number of Hong Kong activists in the UK to their neighborhoods in London, letters that have been sent to their neighbors, offering their neighbors a reward for providing information on the whereabouts, the activities of some of these activists. And in a much smaller way, I mean, I don't face the kind of severe threats that exiled diaspora activists face, but I've also had similar letters in the past, as has my mother. And that's just Hong Kong. Of course, there are other cases relating to Russia, to Iran, and many other countries.
I mean, this is such a serious concern. How can we prevent this? What can be done?
Well, I think, first of all, the government needs to really step up its recognition of this as a problem, as a phenomenon. And I give the government some credit, as the report does, for steps that have been taken in recent years, but there's a lot more that can be done. For example, just today there was news that Carmen Lau, a prominent Hong Kong activist, a former district councillor, was advised by the police in the UK to essentially self-censor, to step away from participating in public gatherings. That's totally the wrong approach. Carmen Lau and other Hong Kong activists, and indeed people from other countries, have come to the UK because we're a country of freedom of expression, and they've fled their own countries where that freedom is denied. So what we should be doing is protecting them as they exercise their freedom, not advising them to self-censor.
Okay, I want to bring up a specific part of its transnational repression. So the Chinese Communist Party is targeting the mind-body cultivation practice of Falun Gong. Through various means, it also attempts to sabotage the performing arts company, Shenyun, which was founded by Falun Gong practitioners. And earlier this year, British MP Jim Shannon called this deeply troubling and an attack on religious freedom. I'm just wondering here, is there any limits to this transnational repression? Is there a bottom line, or there's no such a thing?
Well, there must be a bottom line. And I mean, the example of the threats to Shenyun is one I'm very aware of. I've known for several years the number of theatres around the UK that have reportedly come under pressure not to allow Shenyun to be performed. I mean, that's a violation of our basic freedoms. Our theatres should decide what performances are shown, not on the basis of what the Chinese Communist Party says, but on the basis of the appropriateness of the performance and the commercial viability of the performance and all those factors. So yes, there is a bottom line, and the bottom line should be that we should stand up for our basic freedoms that we have for a long time taken for granted and that are now coming under increasing threat from external powers. And the reality is, although the primary victims of transnational repression are diaspora communities from whether it's Hong Kongers, Tibetans, Uyghurs, or indeed Russians, Iranians, and others, nevertheless, it impacts everybody's freedom. And it's something that we should take a lot more seriously.
So your organization, Hong Kong Watch, is doing terrific work in this aspect, in various aspects. So maybe you can talk to us a little bit about that. Your organization, what is it doing to counter this campaign?
Well, I co-founded Hong Kong Watch in 2017, and over the years we've advocated in the British Parliament and indeed in other arenas in the United States, Canada, the European Union, and elsewhere, both for Hong Kongers in Hong Kong and the very rapidly and seriously deteriorating human rights situation there, but also for the rights of Hong Kongers, firstly to come to the UK and other countries because they need a place of safety, and then to advocate for their rights once they're here. And so we have, for example, we made a submission to the parliamentary inquiry on transnational repression. I also made a personal submission as well, based on my own personal experiences of receiving threatening letters, and my neighbors and my mother and others close to me receiving similar letters. And we'll go on highlighting this issue because it's a very serious concern, both for the Hong Kongers that we seek to serve, but also for our own society and our own values and freedoms.
Well, Ben, we're out of time today, but thank you for your time today to talk to us. It was a very important conversation.
Thank you very much.
New British online safety rules are impacting free speech on the island nation and even American tech businesses. The rules aim at protecting children, but their application reaches further, even limiting discussion about illegal immigration. NTD's international correspondent Malcolm Hudson has more for us from London.
The UK's Online Safety Act aims to protect children from pornography and violent content online. It requires online companies to stop underage users from accessing harmful content. But critics of the Act say it is seriously impacting free speech in Britain and could potentially harm and undermine its relationship with the United States. New online safety protections for children came into force in Britain on July 25th. On that day, Prime Minister Keir Starmer said,
I personally feel very strongly that we should protect our young teenagers, and that's what it usually is, from things like suicide sites. I don't see that as a free speech issue. I see that as a child protection.
Protecting children is what every good parent wants. But many say the Online Safety Act goes too far. Users of sites like Reddit, X, Spotify or Facebook must verify their age to see potentially sensitive content. They must provide ID such as a driving license or a credit card. Economist Maxwell Marlowe said the way this is being rolled out is malicious.
So let's say you're criticising illegal immigration or you're looking at the rape gangs throughout the UK. That could be flagged as harmful to children.
Two issues many British citizens want fixed after years of government failures. This content shared online could be blocked for any non-age verified users in the UK. Victim of a rape gang and campaigner Sammy Woodhouse shared the heartbreaking written testimony of another rape gang survivor on X. But many users could only see this, restricted. Similarly, NTD's British Thought Leaders host Lee Hall published an interview on X about illegal immigration in the United States. But many British users cannot see it, not even Lee Hall himself. And it's not just the more sensitive but certainly legal topics like those either. Earlier I was reading a menswear thread, fashion. It was about the cultural history of which leather shoes to style with different suits. Now, I can't really imagine why, but even something as simple as that was censored and required age verification to view. This directly impacts the ability of people to engage in free and legal speech. And the Online Safety Act directly impacts American business.
The first is that this is going to directly affect usership of American companies. The second area is the fines, up to 10% of global revenue. Imagine that for Meta. That could be ginormous. That's huge amounts of money leaving the US to go to the UK over fines for content that would be perfectly legal in the US. And the third thing is actually interrupts the rights of Americans. It violates their First Amendment rights to communicate freely.
US Representative Jim Jordan told GB News that he doesn't want harmful material getting to kids, but said there is a big difference between that and political speech such as criticism of the government, and added he is very concerned about the Online Safety Act impacting free speech. Marlowe said it could even impact the US-UK trade deal.
Totally. They'll also may blow up the free trade agreement because this is such a huge, huge thing for America. Again, as you pointed out, these social media companies, these internet providers, they are based in the US. They're huge constituents of the American government and the American economy. To have the British government come in and trample all over that, they're not going to take it. And this administration in particular is not going to allow that to happen.
Given the impact, US lawyers are already preparing to defend US tech companies, big ones as well as little ones. Preston Byrne, managing director at Byrne & Storm PC, said he is in direct contact with the White House and that the First Amendment is not for sale. Malcolm Hudson, NTD News, London.
The U.S. is getting ready to increase pressure on Russia as Moscow is facing an upcoming deadline set